Hi everyone. What we are going to do in this video is I'm going to go over the steps that we covered last night, and that involves downloading the data, creating a folder, and then copying the downloaded data into that folder, and then we're going to uncompress it so that we can actually take a look at the map that it creates. So from the announcement page, I'm just going to click on the French data that we looked at. And when we click download, we will see that it's going to be a zipped file. And what you'll also see down here is that I have downloaded this file a whole bunch of times. So here we go again. So here we go. I'm going to click on this arrow here, and this menu will show up, and I'll just click show in folder. And what this does is it opens up a file explorer with in the folder that contains the data that we need. And so you see here, I'm going to just click on it to highlight it, and then I'll right click on the mouse and I'll have an option to cut or copy or paste, and we're just going to click here, the scissors. And then we are going to navigate to the desktop, and in this left-hand pane, you can navigate throughout the file structure, right? You can navigate around the computer. You will be able to see this somewhere. Sometimes it's up at the top, sometimes it's just different places on different Windows machines. So I will click on desktop, and you can click anywhere in the file explorer, and if you right click, you will have a menu that opens, and we're going to look for new, and we'll scroll all the way up here to folder, and we'll have an option then to name it. So I'm just going to call this 5270. I will hit enter, and we have this new folder. So I'll double click that and right click again and click paste. And we now have the folder, the zipped archive within this new folder that we created. So the steps we took, we downloaded the data, we created this new folder called crim5270 and moved the data file into it. The next step is we're going to have to uncompress this or unzip it. And the way that we do that is we click on the file name. Oh, sorry, we click on the file name, and then we'll right click, and you'll see this option, extract all. And it's going to ask you where would you like the file saved. And this is what we referred to last night as the file path. So this is exactly where you can find the file that's going to be extracted. We can uncheck. If this is selected, what happens, and it's selected by default, what happens is whenever it's done extracting on the files, you get another file explorer, and that I find that can get a little bit confusing, and I think it's unnecessary. So if we uncheck that and we click extract, what you'll see is we now have a folder. One of them has an extension .zip, or you'll see it has this focus. See, it has this zipper inside of it. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. That's probably it. So you see the zip file has the zipper icon, and then when it's decompressed or unzipped, you see it doesn't. And I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. And if we look inside of that folder, you'll see there's yet another directory. This one, I don't even know why it's there. This Mac OS one, you can just disregard it. It does. We can delete it too, and it won't make any difference. So we have this folder ready, and we'll double click that, and you'll see we have all of these files that we need. Again, this constantly, all of these files together will allow ArcMap to actually draw the picture, as we say, or draw the map. So close out of that. Okay, sorry about that delay. So what I've done is I've closed out of the browser windows and I've opened up ArcMap. And to add the data, we'll click on this plus sign here. And then we will have to tell the program where to find the files we just downloaded. And in it is, we can tell where the files are. Again, this is a mapping again of the file structure. And since I saved mine on the desktop, I will click there and you should see then the folder that we just created called crim5270. I'll double click that. There's a lot of subfolders. Ultimately, we will get to a directory that this is the kind of the end of the line. And within that directory is this map file, the shape file that we're looking for. We'll click on it and click add, and you'll see that we have the map of plants. So that was the first thing that we covered. In the next video, it may look a little bit different because it's going to have that broken link. And so just sit tight. I have to do a couple of things and I'll be right back. So from the Canvas page that we looked at last night, you will see that this file has a long name. V2 is because I had to make a change so that the link was broken, and then .mxd. So we can click on this and it will take us to this download page. It's like everything's taken us to another page. Once we get here, however, we can do two things. If we click on this file, you'll see that it will download, and we'll see it down in the bar down below. And another trick that we can use if we don't want to then go to the downloads folder, cut or move the file to the desktop directory, we can right click when we hover the mouse over the file name. So again, we will just put the mouse somewhere over then the file name, and when we right click, there's this option here that says save link as, and if we click that, a file explorer will open, but we can choose then exactly where we want to save it. So by default, it tries to save it in this downloads folder, but if we want, we can change that, and we can do that by clicking on this desktop option and then clicking on the folder and then saving it in that directory. Once we are in ArcMap, click on File and then Open, and you'll see we have this MXD file that we just saved directly to the crim5270 directory. Open. We don't have to change anything to iHeart mapping. That session will stay named appropriately. And you see this from yesterday. We have these different layers that have been added to the map, and what we will do then is we'll click on the first one. You can click on any of them. As you remember, we had plenty of volunteers come up and remind us how to do this last night. And so what we do is we will click on it, and then once you see it's highlighted, it has the blue square or a rectangle around it, we will right click, and then we're going to go all the way down here to the properties option. And the tab that we're looking for is this one named source. A lot of times it may open there by default, but notice that there are a whole bunch of these different tabs, and what we're looking for is this one here, source. And in this step, what we're trying to do is point ArcMap to the location of the data. And this is a good example or a good illustration of how a thumb drive can come in very handy. I forgot to mention it last night, but if you have the data, say the mapping file, the shape files, the mapping directories saved to a thumb drive, then should there be a broken link, repairing it's very easy because you know where the source data are located. So in any event, we're going to click on this button, Set Data Source. And then what we're going to do is we have to navigate to the folder that contains the data. And what I did for the purposes of this illustration is I just moved the data to I just moved it directly to the desktop. So if we navigate to that directory, and we'll see that here is the shapefile that we're looking for. When we click Add, you'll see that it populates some of this data. We don't need to worry about that right now. We'll click OK or Apply and OK, and it won't show up. Here's why. It's because this box is not checked. So that is the way that we talked about last night. And so the overview is what's important. And in the biggest picture, what happened was we have this ArcMap project file that looks for data in a certain place. When it can't find that data, it will give us one of these exclamation points. That just tells us that it's trying very hard to satisfy the request. However, it's having some trouble. So at least it's trying to communicate. So we just have to tell it where to look. Here is the second option that was discussed briefly last night. This is the part you may recall where it was mentioned, and I asked very politely to please refrain from sharing this information because it would quote unquote muddy the waters. And sorry about that again, but what I was trying to do was I just wanted to show one way so we would all feel comfortable, at least that first way. And the other point here is that something like that I'm about to show you how it works is very, very handy when we have lots of data that have, we use a lot of the same data in a given mapping project. So it will have a lot of the same boundary information, if you will. But when we don't, when we're using different types of data or different data sources, we can't, this trick or this tool will be less effective. No, it would be equally effective. It won't be universally applied as it will in this case. That's what I mean. So what we do is if you click over by this red exclamation point, so here you guys want to see the focusing circle again. See these red exclamation points. So if we click on that, it will open up a dialog window, and we'll have to find, if it doesn't show up automatically, we'll have to navigate as we did previously to the directory that contains the shapefile of interest. And when we click Add, you'll see that it automatically includes all of the information for all of the layers for which that geographic definitional information, right, that data source information applies. So those, I believe, were the things that we covered in terms of the mapping, skills. If you have any questions or you would like to see, I will be periodically creating these videos. I already have some from previous classes, but I might have to redo them. I'm not sure. But there will be instructional videos that accompany the work that we do during the semester. So, but if there's anything, I do take requests, so if there's anything that anybody would like to see, I am happy to create those maps or create a video to show how to create certain kind of maps. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.